Just a little peace of mind. Ain't that the truth? Hello, everybody. How are y'all doing? Good to see you. Thank you for dropping in and turning on, tuning in, as they would say. I do appreciate it. Think this is going to be an uplifting show. There's enough weirdness in the freaking world out there. And my, oh my, oh my. Yeah, we uh we just choose to look at things a little differently. And, if you're going to have to exist in a reality, at least make it one that's compatible to yours, you know, not the other way around. I said the other day that each of us are forced to accept a reality without actually knowing what that reality is. Seems like a rigged game, doesn't it? Indeed. So, favor to everyone I see in the chat room and to everyone else that's listening on replay. Thank you so much. Thank you for subscribing as well. Looks like I crossed the 47,000 subscribers, so thank you all. And Joyce Marie, you psychic girl, she actually said this about 2 weeks ago. So, Joyce, what a call that is. So, anyway, favor be upon us all. I speak it over us all the time. Wake up speaking it. So, and of course, we like to frame our reality by saying nothing missing, nothing broken. That is a peace that surpasses all understanding. So, what's up, chat room? Hello, Chloe. How are you? How are the crystal sales going? I hope you're doing prosperously. Hey, Scotty boy, what's up, brother? Joyce Marie, good to see you. And Jack, Mr. Floyd's Universe. Josh, how you doing, brother? DC. Hello, Nina. Nina has her show on later today. Emperor Rex, good to see you, brother. Grace, Grace and Favor. Bonnie, good to see you as well. Stephanie Marie, voiceovers by Stephanie Marie. So, Stephanie, do you do that voiceover? You ought to put a link in there. We could, you know, yeah, just saying. If you do, let me know. Let's see. I'm excited today's topic on Alan Watts. Yeah, Jackie, that is true. Uh, Gilbert, how you doing, brother? And Walking Water. Hello, Lilith. Good to see you, darling. So, Colleen, see you. So if I haven't called you out, much love to you. Favorite. Clever Gypsy and Mary Wins. Good to see you as Roger. Hello. Mr. Mission Control. Good to see you. Barbara. Hello. Lost in Space. Much favor and love to you, brother, as well. Urata. So, yeah. Alan Watts. When I just say his name, I just smile. Um, Alan helped me personally when I was making that transition from, in this case, my religion, Christianity, and moving into that place that religion teaches you to fear, but unless you understand and embrace that place, it's going to be very difficult to define you. Who are you? Why are you here? Someone asked me that and I wrote him back. I'm here because I'm supposed to be. Seriously. Just saying. But Alan, because of his perspective on the individual, the being, that which we call ourselves, um, the clarity of his words, his voice, I think as well. But just someone wrote in there earlier that it it's just common sense. So, Stephanie, I saw this. Yes, my YouTube channel is Voice by Steph, and I have two channels, Voice by Steph Marie and Voices by Brown Butterfly. Well, sweetie, I'll just let me know that. I'll promote you as best I can on that. Thank you. Um, Rick, good to see you, brother, as well. The rubber preacher. What's up, brother? So for me, because you see, the thing that I was surrounded by for a half a century was a perception of being something else besides myself. Um, you know, the phrase, you know, the Lord. Well, Jesus wouldn't do that. God has said not to do that. And all of these things come against self. Now, some theology says, well, self is the ultimate sin. Well, if self is the ultimate sin, then this is truly a simulation of a rigged mind that's not right. And today, how I got to where I am, and it's amazing how you build these roads and these bridges to get to that place where, I am not God or your perception of God. I'm not, I'm me. And how I react or don't react to a situation is me. It's not a fault. It's not a default. And part of what Alan taught was that of one has to get to the place in understanding wisdom, and that wisdom doesn't see right or left, doesn't see good, bad, evil. It just is. And we say that we live in some place. We talk about nothing. Years ago, I did a video on nothing. Nowhere is somewhere. Nothing is something. It's just our perceptions have been molded by whatever flow of energy that we happen to adapt ourselves to. And the thing that I have learned, and what I love about every one of you who listen, is that you are free thinkers. It wouldn't be very much fun in this place if you weren't a free thinker, because we do break every paradigm that's out there. We are sacrilegious. But at the same time, we're genuine. Being authentic is to yourself is the most important thing you can do as you experience and observe. I have one of these I want to bring up. And so we're going to have a little fun today, just going over all the cool stuff that Alan left us. And he left us with a treasure trove of Gnosis, of knowledge and understanding, perception, and how we can apply that. In one of his lectures, this is the Organism Earth, and he said, now another thing that goes along with all of this is that it's perfectly obvious that the universe is a system which is aware of itself. When our limited time scope that we're here, we're told that we could see galaxies colliding. We know the Andromeda galaxy is heading like a bat out of hell for the Milky Way. They say in 4 billion years, it's going to be a hell of a light show out there on planet Earth. I bet it will be. And to say that the universe is not aware of that, I think would be wrong. And we still can't seem to see the end of the universe. He went on to say, in other words, we, as living organisms, are forms of the energy of the universe just as much as the stars and galaxies. And through our sense organs, this system of energy becomes aware of itself. But there's a puzzle in this, which again relates back to our basic contrast between on and off, and something and nothing. which this is this, that the aspect of the universe which is aware of itself, that is to say, the aspect which, to put it in a very clumsy phrase, does the awareing, does not see itself. In other words, you can't look at your eyes with your eyes. You can't kiss your own lips. You can't bite your own teeth. You can't observe yourself in the act of observing. All scientists, neurologists, psychiatrists have wanted to do that, but they can't do it. Just as you can't touch the tip of this finger with the tip of this finger, no matter how hard you try, that is, therefore, creates on the backside of all observation a blank spot. Just, for example, as behind your eyes from the point of view of your eyes. However, you look around, there is blankness behind them. That's the unknown. That's the part of the universe, in other words, which does not see itself because it is seeing. And so we always get this division of experience into one half known, one half unknown. We would like, of course, would be fascinating if we could know the always unknown. But if we, say, examine the brain and the structure of the nerves behind the eyes, we're always looking at somebody else's brain. We're never looking at our own brain. We can't see our own brain. Well, I guess if you went into, brain surgery, they say they keep the patient awake. That would be a strange experience. Says we're never looking at our own brain at the same time as we're investigating somebody else's brain. So there always remains this blank side of experience. So true. Is I get out of there and I get over here. It's all right. I'm driving the bus just fine. Thank you very much. So it's interesting because for myself, I see the continuation after this so-called life that I'm really going to step into the real life. Is it eventually going to be another fractal of life? Maybe. I don't know. But what I do know is this. When we as individuals, as these spheres of energy, we have the most remarkable ability of changing the so-called polarity of our existence, and we can have an effect on others in changing their polarity. Now, is there a state of consciousness where we get where that no longer applies? So they say. But what I do now for here and now is that, well, this is the reality that we are dealt with. And so it's important that we do edify one another, purposely build one another up. There is so much turbulence today, and the turbulent times, these are just the early tides. They're going to get a little rougher, but that's normal. Your birth into this realm was no picnic for either you or your mother. There was a lot of pain to be shared with everybody. And if only we could edify others, build others up. But that's what we're here to do. Sometimes it's fun to look at others, and Alan Watts as a mentor is one that I think is going to be funny. So my goal today is to hopefully build you up, make you feel better about yourself. And if that is achieved, then with that essence, that substance, you can create a whole different reality for yourself instantaneously. So let's get ready for this. Hello, Millie. What's up, darling? Hello, Kathy. Good to see you as well. Just seeing what everybody is saying in the chat room. Hello, Shirley. What's up? Okay, so I pulled up a number of PDFs of Alan's work. And as I was looking through this, you just sometimes just got to be grateful. It is as I look at where I am in my life, I am so grateful for each one of the experiences, whether they be positive or negative. Because through them all, even the most negative, there was huge positivity. I mean, seriously, the worst times of my life on this realm um, have ended up being the most positive aspect in so many ways. And that's something to be grateful for. It's something I have found that if the universe finds you grateful, an attitude of gratitude, all your dreams will come true, regardless of how long it may be delayed. Nothing can come against that attitude of gratitude. If you walk around with gratitude all the time, I mean, just get ready. Because, brother and sister, it is about to get fun. So, hello, Loretta. What's up? Hello, Jules. Um, so let's continue on. Now, it's interesting the synchronicities that take place here in this channel. We've been talking a lot about Homo sapiens sapiens and that which they have created. We have created our own God in our own image. And one would say, well, how do you get AI and Alan Watts to come in together? Well, if you listen to Alan's work, he saw this day coming. Um, Boy, where to start? Let's start over here. This is the taboo against knowing you. And I just wanted to bring this out. We're going to be skipping through these as we go through this hour. Boy, it's already going by quick. It says, and this book explores the unrecognized but mighty taboo, our tactic conspiracy to ignore who and what we really are. Briefly, the thesis is that the prevalent sensation of oneself as a separate ego enclosed in the bag of skin is an hallucination which accords neither the Western science nor with the experimental philosophy religions of the East. In particular, the central and germinal vendetta philosophy of Hinduism, this hallucination underlies the misuse of technology for the violent subjugation of man's natural environment and consequently its eventual destruction. Now, I can't help but not think technology has always been with us in one degree or another, but Alan saw it in those early days. And I thought it was interesting because I can say for my personal experience, when I got involved with the internet, that was back in, the mid 90s and the early days, AOL, Netscape. I mean, you had one of your particular browsers and, the charge to connect to the internet, which was at 52K, which today would be a dinosaur. I mean, if you were downloading information at 52K, you would say there's something seriously wrong with your computer, and it is. But anyway, I can say this. I was at the conferences with all all the people that we see today that have benefited immensely. But the vast majority of us were idealists. We saw a philanthropic approach to this new medium. It had the ability to elevate every human being with knowledge. No more ignorance. You know, you eliminate that, where every person reads and writes. We saw it as a distribution model, that how you could take information now and customize it to not only a group, but to individuals. Our idealism, I think, was, well, it was well placed. But what I'm trying to get to, excuse me, is that how eventually it became very negative. I still contend that technology is an enslaver of the human soul. We've had technology, in fact, that we are innovated in our thinking, our crafting of the will, our understanding of the atom. But what we've done with this technology is that it was either hijacked or purposely started this way, where it only benefited a small few. And today, we each find ourselves a slave. We are no different than the Nazis doing to the Jews in the concentration camps. We have all been tattooed with an IP address, a MAC address, and the only difference is we don't need it physically tattooed, because we now have a tattoo we cannot see. And it's being used and manipulated by a negative force. So it is our jobs, I think our duty, that whenever we can, we inject a counter virus to that. And that is saying we can uplift the energy. We can, I believe, change the path that has been apparently laid out for us. And that, they find, is a threat. It's probably why my channel has been so shadow banned. It's that they can't quite get me in one particular party or ideology. And those free thinking channels that rise above that, bet your ass they know about us. They know about you. Because again, we have the tattoo. And so then that leads, I believe, enlightened souls, spirits, to saying, okay, that's not the purpose for what I came in here for. I did not come in here to subjugate myself to an unseen entity that has power over me. That was not the point. So the rebel that we are, we rebel. And we do that by having fun. We have that by exploring and discovering knowledge. We go off onto tangents because within those tangents, we find ourselves immersed in other realities that we bring back, and it adds to the essence of who and what we all are. Alan goes on to say, we are therefore in urgent need of a sense of our own existence, which is in accord with the physical facts and which overcomes our feeling of alienation from the universe. For this purpose, I have drawn on the insights of the Vedanta, stating them, however, in a completely modern and Western style. Well, that's the other problem is us Westerners. And it's odd because we don't really understand Eastern philosophy and Eastern ways of seeing reality. We think that the West is best, and that the East is least, but is actually just the reverse of that. If it wasn't for the East, we would not have our pagan society of today. We are more pagan today than we were 2,000 years ago. But we're under this illusion, this hallucination that somehow we are a Christian nation. And the thing that's so odd about that is that if there was a Jesus, and I say if, even their story of a Jesus was never a Christian. He never started his own religion. So Christianity hijacked whatever the essence of what was trying to be communicated, love, uplift one another, was hijacked by a mind virus. And now today, 2,000 years later, we live in a pagan environment that we do not see its origins at all. We believe in make-believe characters that we now assign religions around. Yeah. Another way I said that because someone had wrote me, what's your things against Christians? Well, I don't have a thing against them at all, other than the fact that there is another story out there. Okay, we continue. But getting back to the whole thing is that East and West, it's difficult. And maybe one day we'll bring back the goddess and more of the Eastern way of seeing reality. What do you think? He says it's rather a cross-fertilization of Western science and Eastern intuition. So let's go on. Mr. Alan Watts. He left us way too early. All right, because I have got so much in here that I want to share. Yeah. Tenzu. Those who would have right without its correlative wrong, or good government without its correlative misrule, they do not apprehend the great principles of the universe, nor the conditions to which all creation is subject. One might as well talk of the existence of heaven without that of earth, or of the negative principle yin without the positive yang, which is clearly absurd. Such people, if they do not yield to argument, must either be fools or knaves. Naive, as they would say. Another one, talking about duality. In biological development, dualism or conflict is always superimposed on the prior unity. And stop and think about that. So many of us intuitively know that something has been imposed upon this. It's how these religions of the West started. They use typology. Most people don't know that, but you do. I do. And so the biological development dualism or conflict. Mankind is always in conflict. Mankind is either in conflict with nature, with man, or himself. It's the three pillars of all drama, all plays, and it also plays a huge role upon us. I don't know if it's possible for us to actually live in peace. It may be an ideal that we long for, but never seem to quite yet connect. And you look at conflict, it seems like we're always in conflict with ourselves, with those around us, and that which is what we call society. Always conflict. Every sport is predicated upon conflict. It is the epitome of showing the futility of dualism. If you didn't have opposing teams, you wouldn't have the sport. The same would go for every religion. You cannot have a so-called perfect being if the antithesis of that perfect being did not exist. It is the antithesis of all that which we are or try to impose upon others that actually makes this realm somehow go around. And it's always superimposed on the prior unity, which states that not that unity cannot be achieved. The issue seems to be its ability of survivability. It's an opposing force. The existence of an organism capable of survival implies integration. The unity is therefore always prior to inner conflict. Conflict may arise as the result of an inappropriate adaptation, and it may prove fatal, or it may prove maybe to overcome. But the recovery of organic health never involves the synthesis of fundamentally opposed principles, since these cannot coexist in an organism. Now, wait a minute. So you go back over that again, and you're going, but the recovery of health never involves the synthesis of fundamentally opposed principles. Huh. And I can testify to this, is that the most challenging times in my life was when I was in conflict with myself. In fact, I can say that the journeys through the 30s, my 30s and 40s and 50s, was one of constant struggle. I was trying to adapt to a image, a principle that in many times was in direct conflict with myself within. And trying to reconcile the two makes you miserable. It'll make you unhealthy. And it also blocks in many ways those natural attributes of spirituality that many of us possess. I'm convinced that there are more and more humans that are nearly not human on the inside. They lack total empathy, the apathy of which they have for the existence, and they have totally adapted to nihilism. Even Allen said that the biggest threat of the human experience and humanity itself is the nihilist. Wow. It only seems to do so because of actual condition of the organism has been misinterpreted in using a dualistic language. The historical process does not involve the synthesis of pre-existing logical opposites, though it may appear to be in the confused language of immature dialectic theories. I'm always questioning about theories. I don't know about you. It's like they just constantly evolve. All right, so this is a great book. I have all of these. They're easily readily available as PDFs. And obviously, we're not going to go through 311 pages, but I just love, it's like a smorgasbord. So just follow me through the buffet, pick what you like, and, enjoy. It says, when the critical intellect looks at anything carefully, it vanishes. This is true of the solid substance of bodies in the historical generalizations, of entities such as nations, of epochs such as the Middle Ages, and of the subject matters such as myth. The reason is, of course, that things exist only relatively, for a point of view, or for convenience of descriptions. Kind of like these drones. I don't know what the hell's going on the East Coast, but if you're telling me that our government, they don't know, I got to call bullshit where bullshit is. However, these things seem to have a artificial telepathy. They seem to know when people are looking at them, and they cease to appear. Sure, our government doesn't know. Moving right on along, nothing to see here. Thus, when we inspect any unit more closely, we find that its structure is more complex and more differentiated than we had supposed. Ain't that the truth? It's like yesterday's show. I mean, you know, there are moments that there is such bonding taking place virtual with this group. And it's amazing to see the synchronization of it happening naturally. Well, that's all I got to say. It's a wonderful thing, as I wrote there in the greeting. You know, it is a wonderful day because you and I are surrounded with wonder. It's everywhere. One of the best lines I enjoyed in the movie Joe versus the Volcano is when oh Lloyd, I can't remember his name. I'll get it here in a second. Anyway, Meg Ryan was saying that her father always said that the vast majority of people basically are dead. That only a few, only a very few, are awake enough to begin to see the awesomeness of our existence, the wonders that we take for granted. And it's part of that attitude of gratitude is just to be part, even if you don't feel it, it's still happening. The fact that you can breathe a gas that is complex. We don't breathe just oxygen. We breathe in carbon dioxide. There's a lot of things that we breathe in. And yet these bodies have the inert ability to use those gases to metamorphize or truly show alchemy in changing their structure. And from that, we derive this substance, this essence of energy that we pull in to feed our. If that isn't freaking awesome, I don't know what is. Not. It's so I do believe we probably have that small percentage. Just it's wonderful. Its variety comes to impress us more than its unity. This is why there is something of the spirit of debunking in all scholarship and scientific inquiry. As a historian of science once put it, isn't it amazing how many things there are and that are not so? It is for this reason that no serious scholar will now propose any general definition or comprehensive theory of myth, at least not without making numerous reservations. Nevertheless, the word myth remains useful. It designates a class of things which we all recognize clearly enough, provided we do not try to be too exact about it. Under the microscope, even the clean edge of a knife becomes ragged. But the stories of Hercules, Odin, the cosmologies of India and China, and the symbols of the lotus and the cross have something in common that we can call mythological, meaning by this word something very much more than the merely fanciful. Some years ago, I ventured to define myth as a complex of stories, some, no doubt, fact, some fantasy, which for various reasons human beings regard as demonstrations of the inner meaning of the universe and of human life. Vague as this was, I should have made it yet vaguer by adding that myth includes not only stories, but also symbols and images. For the yin yang symbol of the Chinese and the neurological doctrines of yoga are plainly mythological in the sense of my definition without being associated with any special narrative. The point is, I think, that myth is to be distinguished from religion, science, and philosophy because it consists always of concrete images, appealing to the imagination and serving in one way or another to reveal or explain the mysteries of life. Yet there is a sense in which both the poetic and the mythic image at once reveal and conceal. The meaning is divined rather than defined, implicit rather than explicit, suggested rather than stated. It is in this sense that an apocalypse of simultaneously a revelation of hidden things and a way of speaking in symbols so as to conceal them. Beyond this, I do not see how there can be any coherent theory of myth and mythogenesis. It is rather that there is some truth in almost all theories, as that myth is primitive philosophy or science, that its inner meaning is sexual. I told you it's all about sex. No one doubted that, right? Agricultural and astrological. That is in its projection of unconscious psychic events. And that is a consciously constructed system of allegories and parables. No one of these theories account for all myths, and yet I do not doubt that each amounts for some. There is, too, the special difficulty that the study of living myths is like the study of child psychology. The infant is unable to say what he or she thinks and feels in the terms which the psychologist wants to use. The recognition of myth as such almost invariably requires a certain sophistication. Like the rainbow, myth can be seen only from a cultural or temporal distance. And as the anthropologist approaches it to find his pot of gold, the rainbow recedes and vanishes. I tell you, I love this. Love it. Let me see. Another one of Alan's lectures. This one is on self and other. Now, the subject of this seminar is self and other, and this is therefore to be the exploration into the subject that interests me most, which is the problem of personal identity, man's relationship to the universe, and all the things that are connected with it. It is, for our culture at this time in history, an extremely urgent problem. Now, this was written 50 years ago. And how apropos is it for today? Now, I would say, if anything, it's become beyond urgent. It says, because of our technological power, in known history, nobody has had such capacity for altering the universe than the people of the United States of America. And nobody has gone about it in such an aggressive way. I made the comment in a group of Christians, and I said, well, the United States is anything but a Christian nation. Well, I'm so used to it now, it doesn't even bother me, but because I can easily defend my position. They can't. But anyway, and it's this illusion. The United States is, I'll just be candid with you, is one of the dirtiest, most evilest nations on the planet. We always like to think of ourselves somehow that God has blessed America. And if anything, he's cursed it. But my point for that is that two realities and how you adapt yourself to either one of those or an alternative is a lot going to express where you are concerned. I was quite well, I wasn't shocked, but it was interesting that with the diversity of thought within this group, that we can broach subjects of religion, cultural issues. But what I found the one that was the most difficult for so many was the issue of politics. See, politics is the ultimate religion game. People sell their souls for it. Yeah. And every religion will adapt to it because every religion benefits from it. Well, if you're in the graces of it. But kid you not, the United States is an evil, nasty thing. We bribe the nations, and we're all about self-pleasure here. We're all about the comforts of the individual because each of us have rights. And when you start having everybody who says they have rights, then you have no rights at all. Just an observation. Yeah, I saw the rest area and I thought I'd pull over there for a second. All right, we go on. He said, I think sometimes that the two symbols of our present kind of technological culture are the rocket ship and the bulldozer. The rocket is a very, very phallic symbol of compensation for the sexually inadequacy of men, of male. Ain't that the truth? And the bulldozer, which ruthlessly pushes down hills and forests and alters the shape of the landscape. These are two symbols of the negative aspect of our technology. I'm not going to take the position that technology is a mistake. I think that there could be a new kind of technology using a new attitude. But the trouble is that a great deal of power is wielded by men who I would call 2 o'clock types. It's like taking the Briggs-Myers test, you know. If any of you have taken that, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I think sometimes that the two symbols of our present, excuse me, let me go on. Maybe you saw an article I wrote in Playboy magazine. Gotta love Alan. I mean, come on. Backs up the expression why most people, men of that day, said, no, I don't look at the pictures. I buy it for the articles. They were buying it for Alan Watts. Called The Circle of Sex. And it suggested at least a dozen sexual types rather than two. See how far advanced he was? And that men who are 2 o'clock on the dial, like a clock, are men who are ambirosextrous, named after Julius Caesar, because Julius Caesar was an ambisextrous man, and he equally made love to all his friends' wives and to his good-looking officers. Isn't that what pansexual is now? I think that's what they're telling about. But I did not know this about old Jules. Horny son of a gun, wasn't he? And he had no sense of guilt about this at all. I mean, so if he had no guilt about it, was that wrong? Or is it right? If you have no guilt about what you do or your actions, so would you not say that you've reached that place in ascension? I mean, you can't argue that, well, that person's reality is messed up. No, because they're completely at peace with it. It's you that's not. I love this. So the guy was just, oversexed, right? Don't Hey, live it while you can. They say it's that when you pass over, it's not the things that you did that you end up having a regret for. It's the things that you didn't do while you had the opportunity to do them. Take that for what you want. Now, that type of male in this culture has a terrible sense of guilt that he might be homosexual and is scared to death of being one, and therefore he has to overcompensate for his masculinity. And so he comes on as a police officer, a Marine sergeant, a bouncer, a bookie, general, tough, cigar chewing, real masculine type who is never able to form a relationship with a woman. They're just dames as far as he's concerned. But he, just like the ace Air Force pilot, puts a little mark on his plane each time he shoots down an enemy. So this kind of man, every time he makes a dame, he chalks up one because that reassures him that he is, after all, a male and he's a terrible nuisance. The trouble is that the culture doesn't permit him to recognize and accept his ambisexuality. And so he's a troubled spot. Holy crap, we could go on a whole got to get the ladies involved on this one. This one is interesting. Hey, we can really go down a rabbit hole on that. Okay. But the kind of spirit of knocking the world around is something that is causing serious danger here. It arises, you see, because this tremendous technological power has been evolved in a culture which inherits a sense of personality, which is frankly a hallucination. And I want to stop right here. So when I read this the first time, I was making my notes, and so I thought to myself, well, would not AI fit into that? I mean, in many ways, AI is an hallucination. And then taking the same context of which writing this, applying it to other situations. I mean, look at governments. You've got this umbrella that is so mass, so convoluted, it's complex. And if you look at this from a certain cognitive, rational mind, you're saying only an insane person could put this together. But within that definition, then that insanity, it has millions of people that participate in the hallucination. Alan goes on and says, and we get this sense of personality from a long, long tradition of Jewish and Christian and Greek ideas, which have caused man to feel that the universe of nature, the physical world, in other words, is not himself. I mean, do you really know who you are? And if you can stand in that center without being swayed right or left, up or down, in or out, congratulations. You may think that it is a very odd thing to say because one always assumes that oneself is one's own body, or at least something inside one's body, like a soul, and that naturally everything outside is not oneself. But this is, as I've said many, many times, an hallucination. Let's think. Here we are in the middle of New York City. And you know what happens when New York City goes wrong. When there's a subway strike, or when the power fails, or when the sewers back up, your life is in danger because you are not only constituted by the bloodstream of your veins and the communication networks of your nervous system, an extension of your bloodstream and of your alimentary canal and all your nervous systems, is all the communication systems of a city. In other words, you know well every night streams of truck pour into this city carrying food. I understand there is even a kind of a big drain pipe which brings milk in. You consume 3 million pounds of fish a week. You then also have to have the exit end of this. The sewers are very complicated. The water system and all its pipes and the telephone systems and the electric light system, the air conditioning things, the traffic systems, all these things going on are essentially extensions of your own inner tubing. And therefore, you have to be aware more and more that the city is an extended body for every person living in it. And not only, of course, the city, because the city depends on untold acres of fields where farm products are grown, cattle is raised, on lakes and underground water sources, on the constitution of the atmosphere, and finally on the location of the earth on this propitious spot rather close to the sun, where we have our basic heating system working. Wow, this time's gone by too quick. Well, we could just do like a day a week on this. I love it. So, what I've taken away, and I had more material, could have gone on another hour, but it's again, for me, reassuring to see that where I am at, I have made pretty good progress. And I don't readily condemn myself anymore. I don't talk negative to myself anymore. I don't look at it if I made a decision and it turned out maybe not to be the right decision. I don't blame myself for it anymore. And it's freeing to know that when someone says, well, that's not how so-and-so would do it, not them. And if there is this omnipotent, I know which I do not believe that there is, I do believe that there is a superior energy, but all religions would fail because if the convert would only stop and realize that they don't necessarily need to change in order to be who they are. It's not a matter of positive or negative, bad or good. I mean, there are some people that they just do stuff that the vast majority of us would be repulsed by. And we say, well, they need to be rehabilitated. They need to be, whatever. Because then they'll become like us. And there's the trap. We're going, wait a minute, wait, whoa. Like us? So define us, is us basically the accumulation of many of yous, me's, I's, M's? And do we somehow lose a little bit of us, or do we add to our essence by the association? I would think that it would be the latter. There's an old proverb that says iron sharpens iron. So if you have two opposing ideas, there's nothing wrong with that, because if you get into the battle of debate, both will benefit from it. Both will become sharper, leaner. That's what I find this group. I have to go back and read the chat room. I didn't get to see it all. But anyway, I love Alan Watts. It's just, I think I'm going to get more into that, because this is a time, we're going to continue on with this assault to our humanity. And the machine may have its plan, but you know what? The future ain't set. Isn't that what Sarah Connor said? The future is not set. Because if the future is set, then it's a rigged game. That's the whole problem with prophecy. If you're saying the book of Revelation is legit and is actually going to happen, I happen to disagree. And you're talking to a scholar who has studied that book extensively. It's a big fucking mind game. If you believe that those things will exist, we will cause them to come to pass. So that's a manipulation. And if it's not that, then it says that this system was rigged for us way before we got involved with it. Yeah. Philosophically and everything. Bonnie says, remember, don't take it too seriously. It's just a simulation. I agree. Uh, Angie Dickinson, that's a name I haven't seen in a long time there, John. That's a good one. Victorious together, we are strong. Mary Wins, you are right, dear. We'll continue. I mean, we are at that point, folks, in an exciting time in history. That's what I love about each and every one of you is that I'm sharing this moment. This is going to be remembered. This is, you can look at moments throughout the millennia, the centuries, in which we see these events, and they're typically localized, and they typically have a limited effect, but they're part of history. What we are part of here, it's the changing of creation. That's a big deal. I was trying to explain to someone recently, creation never stopped. The Bible is the myth. I mean, you think that it says on the seventh day God rested. Well, so what did he do on the 8th, 9th, 10th, and 11th, and etc.? What, did he just still sleep? No, creation never stopped. It's ever present right now. You can create a total different reality for yourself. I have done it. And when you get two or more that happen to connect into that and really truly believe it, things will manifest. Things will come about. Things will be brought into this reality. And it's so freaking far out because when that does, it has this ripple effect. And it's rippling through the time-space continuum of what we call reality. But the fact is that you change that reality within yourself, and that subsequently has a trillion upon a trillion points and they all direct back to you. Because you changed your reality, created a new reality. And it's amazing how in this creation process, how it touches again, trillions and trillions of points. I mean, that's godlike. So anyway, woo! Lady Haley says, no, he's gently laughing at us. Well, I like to think of her. When I come back into this body every morning, I always, give thanks to the creator that created my being, my consciousness, and it's a she. I mean, remember, during the Neolithic period, I mean, there was no male god. There was just the fertility god, the feminine. So anyway, there we go. Scotty Boy says, you are the author of your own reality. And that is so true. And that's why when we get together with like minds that have that understanding, Scotty, that's when we can fucking change and alter the reality for so many others. And in a small way, we do it here. And I have no doubt that as we transcend to the next realm, that we're going to see the cause and effect. I mean, you don't lose this knowledge. You carry it with you. And that makes you so much freaking powerful than those who've crossed over in fear and I just go on in that. But you cross over and you've understood one of the primary basic principles of creation itself. I don't see where reincarnation would be required for that. No. I believe we would be elevated to a much higher realm. That's just me. All right, everybody. Twilight Mist says the 6 days of creation, in breath, compression into matter, to manifest into physical. Seventh day, pause, stillness before the exhale, the emanation from that which was created. And I think that that's what we do. There is this thought that crosses in my mind that we created ourselves. We have to have the help of other energies in order to enter into this portal. But if I existed before I was born into this realm, then did something create me or did I create myself? And that's a powerful thing for meditation. Did you create yourself? Scotty Woods, I was created by a female creator. No jealous God would have created. Exactly. I happen to agree with that. All right, everybody. That's just been fun. We'll pick up tomorrow. I didn't realize I went over. I apologize. So, um, it's good, coitus, mental coitus. Yeah. All right. Check out Nina and her thing later today. And, have a great one. Be in wonder of your existence because you're a wonderful being. Yeah. That's my thought. All right. Till we meet.